Many things on social media that you see that you're just amazed and like, oh, this is something that is actually possible, that somebody can do that. So it's an opportunity for you to see what is in store for you, the level you can reach. If you already have, for instance, YouTube or Instagram and you want to give daily updates of your life, Snapchat is going to be the place that you don't need to think too much about, that you can just take a video and just post on it. Creating engaging content is one of the biggest key to like you being successful with social media, right? Because you don't want to put a content out there and nobody gets to understand. So that's why like you actually creating a persona for any content you release is so important, so that like at least one person can relate.
Christy is going to come upstage right now and she's going to speak to us about social media strategy and all, right? So I've told her to relax because she's not really a presenter. But she has done this once before, because you are not in our church. She has done this once before in our church, so she's just going to go over it again and then we can go from there. Yeah, your mic is on, right? Okay, all right.
And we're going to make this session very interactive. And basically, I'll be going over the social media strategy and just like how to leverage this tool called social media. So I think maybe the big question is, why social media? Like, why is it important? Why is it something that we need to use for like personal branding and just for your small businesses? So what I put there is that like, first thing, it provides a global audience. So it's like if you want your brand to be like you're in Ottawa and you want people from Toronto or all parts of the world to use your product, social media is that platform that you need. And it also enables you have direct interaction. There's so many people that I've had conversation with on social media that I don't think that I would have had the opportunity to actually meet if not for the platform. And next thing is just like it kind of enhances your personal and professional growth. There's so many things on social media that you see that you're just amazed and like, oh, this is something that is actually possible, that somebody can do that. So it's an opportunity for you to see what is in store for you, the level you can reach depending on what you want. So the next thing is also selecting the right platform for your small business, or if you're trying to go into content creating. It's more like you need to know, okay, what social media should I have? I think the first thing is kind of like analyzing what your goal is. So depending on the social media app, you'll be able to analyze, okay, if I have this profile, I can actually get to this amount of people. So that's like a clear understanding of what social media platform should be. And so the next is more like, I just have like a few social media. I don't know if Irene, and I'm sure you guys know most of the social media platform on there. I don't know if there's anybody that doesn't know, but yeah. But like I'm going to be focusing on just 8 of these social media platforms, and we'll just be discussing based of that. So the first thing is X, which was formerly called Twitter. So for instance, like my husband likes going on Twitter because like it provides him with the latest updates of like, he knows what's happening in Nigeria because of Twitter. So for instance, if you are the person that your brand or where your small business is, like you want to be given like, or you want to start a blog of like regular, okay, what's happening in Ottawa, like sending out news and recent news, Twitter is one of the platforms that you should have. The next is YouTube, ideal for lengthy story times. So like for instance, if you want to start like a vlogmas of your life, like you know the video is going to be like an hour long or like 30 minutes or whatnot, YouTube should be the platform that you should be leaning onto. Or if for instance you want to have a tutorial on teaching people a particular skill or something like that, YouTube should be the place, because you don't want to teach somebody how to do something in just like 10 minutes. Like in YouTube, I watched a 1 hour video online on somebody building a tiny apartment. That's something you can't use on any other platform, but YouTube is the place for you to be. So the next is Thread. So Thread is a social media platform that came out from Instagram. So it's more like if you want to just text or just like random thoughts that you have, that's like where it is best for, and you just want to discuss with like your Instagram family and all that stuff. So that's what it is. Snapchat is for like temporary posts. Most people know Snapchat. Snapchat is famous for like their emojis, whatever. So it's a platform for you to like, if you already have, for instance, YouTube or Instagram and you want to give daily updates of your life, Snapchat is going to be the place that you don't need to think too much about, that you could just take a video and just post on it. So I'm gonna be moving next to TikTok. So TikTok is perfect for like, if you want to create a quick content. On TikTok, you see a lot of people use TikTok right now, and it's a place that like, it's more like the randomest things you see on TikTok. So it's the platform for you to like get to a wide audience quickly. So making short videos and all that. The next one is LinkedIn. It is for like a professional, if you're looking for like a job, or depending on the type of job you're looking for. Like I personally use LinkedIn for like my professional space. I'm looking for a job as a software developer, and I know that LinkedIn is the place for me to be. And also if you are a company that you're looking to hire people, that's where you put the job posting and all that stuff. So the next platform I'll be talking about is Instagram. Instagram was known for sharing pictures and videos before. Now it's like there's a lot of things going on Instagram, but like particularly it was actually created for the opportunity for you to share pictures with like people like your friends or people that follow you on social media. And ideally people use Instagram for like fashion, mostly like if you're trying to get into the fashion industry, like stylists and whatever. Then the next one I'll be talking about is Facebook. I don't know if you know about Facebook Markets. So if you want to like sell things on Facebook and stuff like that, Facebook is kind of the place. I don't think people use, I know there's another platform where you can sell things, I think Kijiji, but I think more and more people tend to trust Facebook. So for instance, if you're moving out of your apartment or you're trying to create a small business where you're selling used things, mostly Facebook would be the platform that you should kind of lean on to. So this session I'm going on is kind of like one of the most important things when it comes to you building your personal brand, or even just like building your small business, is more like understanding your audience. Who are you trying to get this message to across, right? And for you to actually even understand your audience, you have to take time out to like do research, try to figure out, okay, who do you want to reach with? For instance, if you have a product, who's the person that you're thinking about, or who are the people that you're thinking about that you want to reach out to? So now this is one of the most important part of like building your audience, is like you're trying to build a target audience persona. Like you're trying to create an ideal customer in your mind. And I would be going over some few steps, and we're going to make it as interactive. This session is going to be more interactive because we're going to create a persona together today. So I'm going to ask for a volunteer for us to actually build a target audience persona today. I don't know who wants to volunteer to do this with me.
So I can volunteer. So.
Okay, you can volunteer. Okay. So the first thing is like, before you build your audience persona, we're going to do research and data collection. So now it's like we're using GD as a case study. So first.
So by the way, you call me GD a lot of times today.
So. Okay, Leo. Sorry. Leo. I was say Leo. All right. So firstly is that like, for my case study, I'm going to be using Leo.
Don't worry, you can call me Jide.
So first thing is more like so I'll use myself as an example. Like I'm trying to reach out to Jide in personal. Like this is what my goal is, to make sure that the content I'm releasing on my social media relates with Jide. So firstly is that before I even begin, I need to know, okay, what, like, Jide, what's your age, gender, location, and all that. So firstly is like, should I write it down or?
Just write it.
Okay. So, step one.
So basically, is it?
Okay.
So I'm assuming that I'm the content creator, right?
No, so I'm the content
Oh, you are
creator.
the content creator. So
Then I'm trying to, so now it's like we're understanding our audience.
Yeah.
So Jide is the particular person I want my content to reach address to. So when, for instance, like when Jide sees my content, I want it to be like, oh, this is
meant for me, yeah.
this is meant for me. So that's what it is. So, and I think it's more like, one thing I've understand, or sorry, one thing I'm understanding is more like, when you are trying to, for instance, if you want to be a lifestyle influencer, you should have it in your mind that like you want to reach out to one person. So, because if you try to reach out to everybody, you end up reaching out to nobody. It's like a jack of all trade, master to none. So it's more like having that insight that like my content, I want it to reach out to this person. And when you are creating the content in your mind, you're thinking about, oh, so now my focus will be, I'm thinking about Jide. I want to know, okay, who's Jide? Understanding who Jide is so that my content will relate to him. So the first thing I would do is data collection, which is like knowing who Jide is. So that's the first. Please ignore my writing. So first thing is that I'm gonna talk about Jide's age. I would say gender. I'm not going to go over everything, but just the key things. Interest. Okay, so Jide,
You can just say 30 plus or 30.
yeah, so 30 plus, male, and interest,
Yeah. So lifestyle, right?
lifestyle.
Since you're a lifestyle creator, right?
Okay,
Fashion.
fashion, etc.
Fitness.
Oh, fitness.
You just reminded me.
Okay, okay. So now the next step I have there is define key characteristics, which is what I just did there, which given a age range of like, okay, for instance, there are people in their late 20s and there are people in their 30s. Everybody has their different goals at that age. So if I am focusing on tailoring my content to this age range, which is 30 plus, I have to have that in mind that like, what is something that if I put out like a 30 plus person can relate to. So that would be it. So I guess the next one would be kind of like identifying the goals. So just write it down. Okay, so Jide, I'm gonna what I'm going to do next is like I'm gonna go ask you a couple of questions. And so what do you like, what are your goals and at this particular point? And these are, so can you see, can you hear?
Yeah, I want to turn on my mic, sorry.
All right.
So, okay. Basically, my goal is to travel, right?
Okay.
And then
Travel.
experience new places.
Experience new places.
Just for the sake of it.
So you're just say adventures. Okay, so what obstacles do you face that your product can address? So, for instance, like now, okay, I would,
The obstacle should be,
yeah, I
I
could,
don't know where to travel to, right?
Yeah.
You know, I've not been to Cancun before, right? So
okay,
I'm following your content
Yeah.
because I want to have an idea of where to go to when I go to Mexico,
Of
which
course.
hotel places are here?
Okay, so now I would just use the first 3 points to try and tailor what my content should be. Okay, so now is more like I know I have a persona of like my audience, and this audience is a male. And so this is something that you can do online, that you can actually do this data collection online. It's not something that you can just speculate. There are actually data that actually give you an estimate of like, okay, a male 30 plus, what are their interests, right? So if their interest relates to like what you're trying to get out, if it's like lifestyle, fitness and fashion, you try to think of, okay, different obstacles that you know, known research that has been to stop people from accomplishing the goals and the interests they have. So for instance, like Jide, we're using Jide as a point of reference, is that his interests are lifestyle, fashion and fitness. And you basically, you have your preset goal that like you want to dive into lifestyle and you want to reach Jide because this is one of his interests. So the first thing is more like you are reaching out to like, let's just talk about like, for instance, his travel goals, that he wants to travel. So in your content, is like you're thinking of, okay, first thing is like, what does somebody that needs to travel need to know? Like, first thing is like the cost. So you can have like a content that goes through the cost of being to a particular place that like the person wants to travel to. So maybe if you went to like Cancun or Punta Cana or something like that, you can make content on TikTok and Instagram going through like, oh, how much it costs you to go here and everything. So it's more like after Jide sees that, he'll be more in tune to look at your content because it's like, oh, this is something that I need later on. So even if he's not planning to travel right now, it's something that he can actually save and be like, oh yeah, I'll go back to this content because this person is actually in line with what I need to be. So I think the next one is, so we're going to be analyzing the media consumption. So now we would need to figure out, okay, what platforms, what social media platforms would Jide, someone that is 30 plus and is a male, if he's looking for lifestyle or travel tips, like what platform, what social media platform would he be on? So I don't know, Jide, you can tell me what social media platform.
I'm more on Instagram.
Instagram.
Yes.
Okay. TikTok.
That's just me. I'm going to get it lost.
Okay.
Some Gen Zs might say, they are mostly on TikTok anyways, but maybe some millennials like myself might say Twitter, right? But
Yeah.
I don't spend time on Twitter.
Okay, but in this sense, like if, for instance, like we're talking about Jide and Jide specifically wants to travel and is looking for new adventure, you know that Instagram and TikTok would be the best one. So the content that you can think of posting on Instagram would be like a reel, which is similar to what you do on TikTok, but TikTok can be something shorter where you can do like different glimpses of, okay, my morning routine on my trip to this, okay, what I had for breakfast. So those are things that like you can build off that content so that like when Jide goes back to your page, he can think of, oh, at least when I go to this page, I would see an idea of, okay, what I would eat when I go to Punta Cana, so just ideas of like what kind of result I would go to. So your page now brings an interest to him because that's something that he's leaning on doing later on. So yeah, I think we just basically created a profile, which is like using all the data that we have. So more of this is more like, another thing that we need to be aware of is that like Jide mentioned, that like 30 plus men is not the only one that will have this interest. So you have to keep on updating the data you have. You have to keep on doing more research. So it's not more like you're out backdated on like the content you're making. So this understanding your audience is a progressive thing. It's something you always have to do. So if for instance, like your goal changed, like you want to address a different set of people or personnel, you need to like adjust, go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, create a new profile and be like, okay, these are the people I want to address. How can I reach out to them? So yeah. And so the next I will be going on to the next discussion would be creating engaging content. So I think I will make this more interactive. And for instance, for that, I will be asking you what content, for instance, like maybe you can give me an example of your business, talk a little bit about your business, and tell me what kind of content you think will reach out to the audience you're trying to lean to.
Okay.
Let me give you a mic. So
Okay. Thank you. My business is on the financial side.
Okay.
So I try to engage people on.
Okay.
I try to engage people on how money works in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just use what we understood from the like trying to build a personal profile. So for instance, what age range are you looking to reach out to in that? Like what age range do you think your content's with? Like when they see your content, the person will be able to relate to the content they're creating?
I'll say 30 to 50.
Okay.
Yes. It's usually like between 20, let's say 30 and 40.
Okay.
That's the age that people want to try new things in terms of the business. People want to try new things. Maybe they try some things and they just want to do something else. Or they are newly wedded, they want to get something for their kids. Yeah.
So something like that. Okay. So I think, yeah, that's good. Thank you so much for engaging. So at least creating engaging content is one of the biggest key to like you being successful with social media, right? Because you don't want to put a content out there and nobody gets to understand. So that's why like you actually creating a persona for any content you release is so important, so that like at least one person can relate. So having that at the back of your mind, that like you're not trying to reach everybody, you're just focusing on that one person, is going to help you. So you understanding that like in the financial side, you're like reaching out to people within that age range of 30 to 50. So you know that like most times they will have questions that are very significant, like probably, okay, for instance, should they have like a trust fund for their child? So how should they manage their money, like a newlywed and all that stuff? So you know that like when you are putting something out there, be it on Instagram or even on YouTube, like you're putting those keywords that like, do you understand what I mean? So yeah. So another thing that can help is this visual storytelling. Most times is that people want to hear what has gone on in your life for them to actually understand, okay, like, oh, how can I relate to this person? So when you share your story on social media, like your experiences, they can relate to you because they feel like you're human as well. So like the things that you have gone through, maybe somebody else is actually going through that as well. So that's like the importance of actually visual storytelling. I'll be moving on to this. So another key part of social media strategy is effective posting schedule. You have to like, there is key in being consistent. Somebody wants to know that like, okay, every Monday this person is going to like, they want to know that like you are consistent. So that means you're serious about your craft. They don't want to be like you post once in every year or something like that, once in every 2 months. So for instance, so Irene, I have a question. So if you have your interest and there's somebody you see online that has a similar interest, what would be your expectation for you to actually have a level of trust that this person knows what they're doing? Do you understand what I mean?
I hope to see a video every Monday at 9 a.m.
Okay. So you kind of like
Yeah.
So that's where you now realize that when you are creating your personal brand and you're doing something for small business, it reminds you that like if you have that expectation for someone that you want to trust that knows a craft, you should also be doing that as well. Do you understand what I mean? So the first thing is plan ahead, which is important. Like in everything, you need to like, that's something that like I feel like people need to understand. Most content creators, they don't just get famous overnight. It's like when you go to their old videos, you see that like they put in a lot of effort and they were consistent. So years of consistency brought them to their desired goal. So I think one thing is that like create a content calendar to schedule posts in advance. So I have an example right there. It's more like so this is just a rough example for like a month. So what you can do is like different social media platform that you have. So I have a platform there. The other one is like what kind of content are you desiring to have, and the topic or theme. So that is kind of like an idea that you should have at the back of your mind, that like, okay, what kind of content am I trying to put out throughout the month, right? So when you plan ahead, at least you are not stressed on like thinking of putting out last minute content or whatnot. So at least you having a visual calendar, like, okay, October 1st, I'm going to post on Instagram, and it will be about like the fashion, fall fashion trends, right? Because you know that like, number one, what aligns is that the season is what people are looking for. October is like fall season. So you need to put something that can relate to what kind of season you're at. So I think that will be it for planning ahead. This is also another like example of a social media calendar that you could have as well. So just depending on which you feel more comfortable having. Next thing is timing matters. You have to post when your audience is most active. So let's just backtrack of you understanding your audience. You need to know, okay, what time frame are these people more active at a particular time and everything. So for instance, I just had like examples. This is not this is not like, do you understand what I mean? It's just an example. Yeah. So for instance, like it tell you that for Instagrams, maybe that's something that you need to like keep in mind of, like, okay, what time are people more active on these platforms? And you think about your persona. For instance, us using Leo as a point of reference. Yeah, Leo, help us. What time are you most active on Instagram?
So basically, when I wake up, just before work, right?
Just before work.
Let's assume I start at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'm on Instagram between like 7 and 9 o'clock.
No.
And then maybe later on in the day, in the afternoon, maybe between 12 and 1 when I'm on lunch break.
Yeah.
And then after 6 o'clock in the evening, right?
Okay.
I'm usually online.
So there would be me, I would have to, like, for instance, now knowing, so this, using Leo as a point of reference, I would update this and be like, okay, what's the best time for Leo? I know that it has to be from 7 a.m. before he starts work and all. So whenever I'm releasing content, I would either post exactly by 7 a.m. or like 6:30, knowing that fully well that Leo will get to see it. The best days, I would be like, okay, it's going to be on the weekday because that's when Leo is most active. Then you just need to know that, like, okay, on Instagram, what are these tips? Like, what are latest trends going on, and when are people more engaged? So that's just it. I also have another example using TikTok. I'm guessing, Leo, will be the same thing. You're probably online, so the best time would be probably between 7 till like when it starts work by 9. So I will adjust that, and you can experience with different times just to figure out what actually works. So I think another thing is more like when it comes to timing, you have to take into account like the time zone. For instance, if your audience are in, let's say, somewhere in Africa, like Nigeria, so like that, you need to put in time that like Canada is like 6 hours behind. So if your target audience are people back in that time zone, you know that you need to post at a particular time, right? So then the next one is using automation tools. So like a lot of people are busy, that's the thing. If you want to keep up with consistency, there are like tools out there that could actually help you out. So I kind of like listed out some free automation tools, Buffer, Hootsuite, Later, and other. But you can also do your own research and figure out what tools work for you. For when you're just beginning your social media journey, I will always advise that you look for free resources. So if for instance this tools are offering like a premium, if you have built that level of consistency that you know that like you have content that will be useful for these tools, then you can move on to like having a paid version. But like build your consistency first. So the last thing I have is like consistency is your best ally in the social media realm. If you want people to have a level of like trust in the fact that like you know your craft, they want to see that like you are always bringing out content out there. Um, so this is engaging with your followers is also another big part of social media. It's like a way for you to build relationship that like it doesn't have to be with people you know per se, but like you know that like you want, for instance, if you want to convert what you are promoting to a paid goods or something like that, people would use your code based off like, oh, they know you. They know that like you interact with them. Like, you know, most content creators, they have like giveaways because they know that like engaging with their followers is actually what builds their social media app. So first thing is more like ways you can engage is like replying to comments. You don't need to reply to every single comment, but like making sure that like at least a good amount of comments you're like engaging with people. If they're saying something, you are responding so you don't think you're a snob. And another thing is more like sending them messages, or if they send you a DM, you're replying. So you're not just ignoring them and everything. Let's move on. Okay, so that's it. So I don't know if, are we taking questions now?
Yes,
or
you can take questions.
So I don't know if anyone has like questions before we, about anything I spoke about earlier.
Really? There's no question.
I'm going to let them know.
No worries.
Me too.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, I think my question is just going to be on targeting the audience.
Yeah.
I think that's the part that I would say it's kind of difficult. Like you don't really know who that, you don't know. First of all, you don't even know the content that will go viral. You know, but how does one really know like who am I talking to? Who is this post for? Like how to target, to know the particular group of people to focus on.
Yeah. So
I
okay.
think that's the benefit of building a persona,
Personal.
right?
Yeah.
So, because I know what you do, right? And I know that you have conversations every day with people, right?
Yeah.
So, build your content based on the conversations you have with people. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, if I come to you or you come to me and be like, do you have, what's that thing called? Is it child?
Yeah, like a
insurance?
trust fund.
Your trust
Trust
fund,
fund
like a
or
child trust fund.
or
That's a content question, right? But you also mentioned one thing before I get back to that. Don't chase virality,
yeah.
right? That's the advice I'll give you. Don't chase virality, right? Build content that has value and that will last long. You are not, if you post the content today and the content does not perform well, don't think that's the end of the content, right? Because 3 months, 2 years, 5 years from now, someone can bump on your page and scroll down and tap on that same video, watch that video, and to be valuable to them.
Yeah.
And that might be the deciding factor in them patronizing you. So if you think about chasing virality and jumping on sort of like social media trends, it won't really make sense for someone that goes on your social media page 5 years from now. Am I making sense? So when you are creating your content, think of that one person in your head. You know, how will this content be valuable to them, right? There are so for example, myself, the reason some of the content I create, most of the content I create are from conversations I have with people, right? And they jump to me as you're asking me the question. I'm on my phone, in my notes, typing and saving the question in my notes. So when I get back home, I then think through it, think about the appropriate answer, and then post it online. Now, I know that one person would have found my response valuable, right? That means another person online would find my response valuable. So I think that's the best way to create content.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like always having your audience at the back of the head
Yes.
of who you're creating it for sure.
It's hard, right? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is it crazy to just like take yourself as the targeted audience?
I don't
Like,
think
put
so.
yourself
I don't
like
think
that?
so. Like most times, it's like, for instance, this is my personal journey. I'm on a weight loss journey all my life. so, for instance, it's like the content that I have saved on my TikTok and Instagram is mostly people's personal journey of like what they did. So they're like, how they even get me is more like they will do the before and after. So I would follow them based off that because I can actually see that like there's value to what I'm at. So it's like you're using your personal journey to create that. Because so now in that sense is that people most times on weight loss journey, they are their own, like their personal is them, right? They're building the content based off like what their experience was and everything and how they want to reach out to people on the same journey as they are. Yeah.
That makes sense, right? So give me an example of what your personal would look like.
My personal view? Because like the thing is like I don't have any social media presence or whatever. For the longest I've been like helping
People.
others create,
Mhm.
right, and like put out content. But like for me, I don't even know who I want to target.
Yeah.
I have so many different like interests.
Okay.
So it's like, for example, I'll be looking what interests me. Okay, what interests me is maybe history, maybe it's like lifestyle, but then again, that age or demographic,
Yeah.
like I don't know how to like do
Narrow it
research.
down.
Yeah,
Yes,
like
okay.
narrow it down and
Yeah.
like
So the persona does not act as a constraint to like certain age group, right? It's just to give you an idea of who you're talking to, right? So if you want to use yourself, for example, if you're interested in art and history, so to speak, and you want to create a content based off of that, so you ask yourself the question, what's my age, right? You write it. What interests me, right? Is art. Now, am I knowledgeable about art enough to share with another person, right? If the answer is yes, then that means there are other people that are interested in art that are not as knowledgeable as you are, right? And your goal is to create content that would speak to them or that would educate them. There are 3 types of content. So your content is either motivational, is either funny, or value adding. If they don't fall within one of these categories, to me, I believe is a waste of time.
wait, so you said
Motivational.
Funny
Funny.
or add value.
and
Yeah.
value.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why you see a lot of people doing comedy and
Yeah.
skits, right?
Yeah.
And you see other people being motivational,
Yeah.
and you see the last set of people teaching you
Yeah.
something,
Like that.
right?
Yeah.
So I also want you to think about these 3 things. You know, most times when I'm listening to some people about content, is that they usually advise that you incorporate all of this into your content, right? But I'm of a different opinion, right? I've tried to act funny online before. I made a couple of videos. I remember when I used to post like gym content. I at some point I thought, let me create a funny video. I tried. One actually went viral. I had 10K views on YouTube Shorts, right? But it wasn't me. It didn't feel original, right? It's not the kind of person that I am, right? So
Yeah.
I just stopped doing it because I wasn't comfortable
Yeah.
doing it. You know, to some people, it might be good content, right? But I feel like I don't want my audience to look at me as a clown or as a skit maker, right? That's just my preference.
Yeah.
But some people would want to build their audience based on that, and there's nothing wrong
With that.
with doing that,
Yeah.
right? So I tend to what's the word? Tilt towards motivational content and value adding content. So if you can build a mix of all these 3 types of content, it will be good. But if you cannot, just stay with, educational and motivational, or just educational alone, right? And I think a question that a fashion content creator might ask me is, what category does my content fall into? If I'm just dressing up and taking pictures,
That
that's
should be value, for
Do you
sure.
understand?
Value,
Right?
yeah.
What other examples do you have?
So, like what Sister Fola does, like
Yes.
teaching people
It's value added.
financial literacy
Yes.
is
Yes.
value
It can
adding.
also be motivational.
You can, yes.
Do you
True
understand?
as well.
Right?
Even art, like history and everything. My husband loves that, so he watches content that is relating to that every time. I don't get it.
You'll be amazed.
I'm like,
You'll be amazed.
there are a lot of people that
You'll be
do.
amazed that there
Yeah.
are a lot of people that have the same interest as you have. What do you
Trust
want to say?
me.
Oh no, I'll show you someone like this guy.
Well, he likes art, right?
Yeah.
And history.
And history, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people do. So yeah.
If you can just, my thing is, create the persona first. If you use yourself as an example. Use yourself to create a persona. But again, your persona can still, you can be, for example, you can be 25, right? But your persona can still reach out to someone that's 50.
That's true. That's
You know,
true.
it doesn't limit.
It doesn't limit.
It's
Yeah.
just for you to have an idea. So
Yeah.
when I'm creating a video or when I'm recording my video, I'm always thinking of one person I'm talking to when I'm facing the camera. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So, and I know a bunch of, they might not like your video, they might not like what you're saying, right? But at least you're talking to them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I just want to say, I really like what you said about your own personal journey about trying to be funny, but then all isn't quite you. Because I feel like if you do start doing something that just goes against like who you are as a person, it will just feel forced.
Yeah,
And then
Exactly.
yeah.
you just end up like
Yeah.
quitting.
Yeah.
Because then there's like too much pressure.
Too much pressure, yeah.
And continuing,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. You don't want to put too much pressure on yourself.
No.
Trust me. I went through that phase. I was supposed to talk about it in my next session, but anyways, I can speak about it now. One of the things I first eliminated was imposter syndrome. I saw it as a weakness. I thought about my strengths and weaknesses, right? Because I went to business school, and whenever you're trying to create a business, you need to think about your strengths, your weaknesses, right? Especially when you are doing sort of like competitor analysis. So that's what I used. So I